AMD quietly launches FSR Redstone. The RAM shortage looks like it's getting worse, and Nvidia is doing a move that gamers have absolutely seen before. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're gonna be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast this Monday, November 17th, 2025. We're gonna start off today with the discussion of what happened on Friday over on our Twitch streams. We gave away a bunch of PCs, and we got new giveaways going on right now. 3 different ones that are happening over on twitch.tv/UFD Tech, UFD Music. So for our main UFD Tech giveaway, we have this Thermaltake Tower 600 with the 9800X3D and the Astral Liquid Cooled 5090, one of the most expensive ones on the market. It's present in that system. You can check out the video. We have a link to the video description that has the parts list and kind of everything that we put in that one. And then over on UFD Music, we're giving away an RTX 5080 Falcon Northwest Tiki that we reviewed about 3 or 4 months ago. So you can check that video out as well. But we're also trialing something brand new. We're giving away this Height X50 Intero Milk, got a 9800X3D. The GPU's a little up in the air. It's got a 4070 Super Wukong edition. We might bump that spec up, but it's going to be for people who refer new viewers over to our Twitch streams, as well as the new viewers who are referred. So it's going to be exclusively for that. We're just going to have a PC for those who are bringing in new viewers and the new viewers themselves, and triangling that out for the month of November, December. So you want to go check all of that out. You can check out the Twitch links and type !terms when you get to those channels. And you can now check out FSR Redstone because it's present in one of the most controversial games of the year, Black Ops 7, getting ray reconstruction. The ray regeneration is what AMD's choosing to call it. Ray reconstruction is what Nvidia chose to call it, where they use AI to make sure that you're denoising the signal for ray tracing before it actually gets all put together. This is one of the 4 different things that AMD said was going to come out to FSR Redstone, so it's not fully launched, but they are at least making strides in a game that it appears to be very, very controversial at this point, just because of how weird it is, how much AI they used, how the single player experience requires you to constantly provide input, or else they'll kick you off the online servers because that single player experience is also online. It's a whole thing. People are just not necessarily reacting to it well because it appears to be a bad usage of AI. But you know what's a good one? Today's video sponsor. What do streamers and work from homers have in common? No, it's not Simpsons and Fortnite. It's a nice camera on your computer, and today's sponsor, Insta360, knows all about a nice camera. Specifically, a webcam, the Link 2, in the clean new white colorway. What's so special about this fella? How about a 1/2-inch sensor that provides 4K 30 with HDR and true focus, or a built-in mic for quality audio and a nifty privacy mode for when you're feeling a little shy. On top of the great video quality, the Link 2 offers convenient AI tracking and auto framing features. With the control of your palm, you can ensure you're always kept front and center in your meeting, even if you wiggle around a bit. Maybe you also want to show off a cool new trinket you picked up, or an important model of a product that you've been working on. With Insta360's True Focus, you can just hold up whatever you want to show in the center of the frame, and the Link 2 does the rest. And if you're using the built-in mic, you get some crazy noise cancellation. So next time you're streaming or in the middle of a meeting and someone walks in behind you clapping because someone in the office finished all the quests in OSRS, your voice will stay front, center, and uninterrupted.
So our margins are looking great. We've gained a lot of new viewership and engagement on our platform.
Our push stream is doing incredibly, and we're looking to increase our spending in the next quarter.
Maybe you're also somewhat of a forgetful fella who ignores the one rule of using a camera online. Make sure it's off when you're done. Lucky for us, the Link 2 has convenient privacy features built in. When you're all done looking pretty on camera, simply flip the camera down to power it off. If you're really looking to up your video meeting game, consider pairing the Link 2 with the new Insta360 Wave. This stylish AI-powered speakerphone features a nifty floating design and pairs easily with the Link 2 to create the ultimate video conferencing combo. Your camera follows you while the Wave works on giving you a transcript of the meeting, so you can focus on actually being present in said meeting. Grab yourself an Insta360 Link 2 webcam via the link in the description below and check out the Wave while you're at it. With code LINKWEBCAM, you can get 25% off from November 6th through the 19th if you're one of the first 5 orders. Huge thanks to Insta360 for sponsoring. Well, I want to use that Insta360 to show off this new case that Silverstone announced, the FLP03. Yes, a successor to the 02. Not exactly. It's going to be sold simultaneously with it, but another retro tower with a little key thing that you turn on and the switch. It just looks like a nice little case from the 90s, except for it doesn't have all of the various massive 5¼ inch drive bay setups. It's meant for micro ATX boards instead of the full ATX, but it can still support 412mm GPUs as well as tall CPU coolers, so it appears to be a pretty decently set up case in terms of making it the retro into the modern. However, as we discussed in our previous sponsorship from Silverstone earlier this month, the FLP03 was delayed due to import stuff and the government shutdown. So hopefully that gets resolved sometime soon, because I know the guys over in the US are itching to build in the FLP03. And I know that Apple is itching to get rid of this lawsuit, but it's not happening. The blood oxygen sensor that was featured in various different Apple Watches got them banned in the United States for a little bit, and then they were able to work around that because they allegedly violated a Massimo patent, and now turns out they're gonna have to pay a pretty penny for that violation, with a jury finding that yes, indeed, they did violate this, which means they have to pay $634 million to Massimo for stepping on their toes for this patient monitoring device for blood oxygen SpO2 setup. Apple not happy with this, saying the single patent in this case expired in 2022 and specific to historic patient monitoring technology from decades ago. So they're gonna appeal that decision. They don't want to pay the big money, and they also don't want to update the Mac Pro. Reports are coming out from Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg, who's a very notorious Apple leaker, that Apple thinks that the Mac Pro is kind of replaced by the Mac Studio, and so while they're going to continue to sell it, and it will still have, I think it has the M2 Ultra as the newest chip it's got, they're not going to really change it up because their strategy doesn't really involve PCI expansion slots, which is essentially all the Mac Pro gives you over the Mac Studio, is that you can plug in various accessories, and it doesn't look like Apple thinks that's necessary, but they do think it's necessary to potentially move on from Tim Cook, or maybe Tim Cook thinks it's time for him to move on, because reports are coming out that as soon as early next year, we could be looking at a new CEO for Apple, because allegedly it's not going to happen before their earnings report in January, but it could happen just quickly after that, with it being stated that it has nothing to do with company performance, which makes a lot of sense because Apple has been doing fantastically under Tim Apple's reign, regardless of whether or not the consumer who watches these videos thinks that the products that Apple's been putting out are good or what have you. They have been earning money, and that's the big thing the CEO of a publicly traded company is responsible for, is making sure they are earning cash, and Apple has that in just heaps and droves. So looks like at the over decade reign of Tim Jobs, Steve Cook might be coming to an end. I nailed that. But you know who's not replacing me as CEO anytime soon? Reece. Because he's got to give you the deals, and he wouldn't have time if he was trying to run the company.
Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals out on the internet. And hey, here's your first deal. Starting us off, we have the Cooler Master NR200 Mini ITX case, available in black for $46.99, making it $63 off. But then next up, we have the Western Digital Black SN850X. This Gen 4 NVMe M.2 SSD is going for $139 for the 2TB variant, making it $28 off. And then lastly for today, we have the Super Speed Crucial T705 Gen 5 NVMe M.2 SSD with the 2TB variant going for $151.99, making it $46.68 off. This thing is too fast. I have one on my PC. Don't buy it for games. It's too fast. It's just too much. It's overkill. But hey, it's really nice to have. And with that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, hand you off back to Brett for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Well, Reece, you're going to continue to struggle to find deals on RAM because reports are coming out that the DRAM manufacturers are just doubling down on the fact that they are not going to be increasing production. This is not something necessarily new. We kind of knew that they were having this stance, that one of the reasons for the supply shortage of RAM at this current moment is simply because they've got burnt too many times in the past, and they don't want to necessarily just increase production for a bubble and then make it so that they lose money in the future. So allegedly that output's not happening. However, what's happening on the other side is that even though supply is limited, that means demand is going up because people are panic buying, or at least companies are trying to make sure that they have enough RAM stock for all the various devices that they sell. Whether that's their pre-builts or handhelds or whatever they're selling, they want to make sure that they can actually supply them with reasonably priced RAM, or RAM at all, because this shortage is likely to continue to get worse for some time to come. And this happening on the company end is likely to make it worse for consumers, where we're going to get even less trickling down to us. And that's also aligning with reports that new RAM modules not likely to be announced. Companies that typically announce new memory just aren't going to do it until sometime in 2026, again, because of the shortage, which makes me just find it kind of tickling that I saw this headline that Intel is canceling their 8-channel version of their Xeon processors, and they're going to be shifting to a 16-channel memory setup so that you have to buy even more. Not necessarily something wrong with Intel there or them having a bad reason to do that, but it's just kind of funny that you're going to have to stuff more expensive RAM into the server in case you want to use that. But in case you want to use Intel's Panther Lake GPU in a handheld, well, we're getting details on that because there's allegedly an ARC B380 in the works that's supposed to be exclusively for gaming handhelds. Now, we've also seen that the B390 is going to be the flagship one that we're going to see in things like laptops, but the B380 is supposed to be a couple hundred megahertz slower, 2.3 gigahertz instead of 2.5, but allegedly, again, supposed to be dedicated for that gaming handheld setup, likely the next generation MSI Claw, or whoever chooses to use Intel moving forward. I think that I'm excited to see what finally happens there. Intel's handhelds have been doing all right. They're fairly competitive. Battery life has gotten better, especially with the Lunar Lake launches. So seeing Panther Lake continue on that, I think competition is going to be pretty good there. But Nvidia choosing to get rid of the competition. This is a move gamers have seen before because reports are coming out that Nvidia is just going to replace all of the companies that make their servers. They're just going to do it in-house. They're going to go to a more vertical supply chain for things like their Vera Rubin servers instead of relying on companies like Dell or HP or companies that actually put these things together. They're just going to do it themselves, and those companies are just going to be more middlemen for things like integrating into systems, installing, and being the support provider. So they're not going to actually be the system designers and make their own servers. Nvidia's going to have those and sell those and then make it so that the companies that are currently making profit off of them will no longer, and Nvidia will make that profit. And you're wondering, how have gamers seen this? Well, it's been with the Founders Edition graphics cards. Because in case you only got into the GPU game, you know, after 2020, that kind of time, RTX 30 series, RTX 40 series, you might be thinking Founders Edition, that's just an Nvidia card. That's not the way it used to be. Back in the GTX 900 series days, the Founders Edition, as you would see here, were actually sold by companies like Asus and MSI and Gigabyte. They had their own Founders Edition variant that they were the ones who were selling to the consumer. They all look the same, they all perform the same, but they were sold by those companies who also had their actual third-party models as well. Same thing with the GTX 10 series, those were sold by the various different companies. However, with the launch of the RTX 20 series, the Founders Edition became exclusive to Nvidia, and then they made it so that it had a price premium because they were binning chips specifically for their own cards. The Founders Editions were allegedly going to get the better chips, and so they were more expensive for that reason, but showed the shift that Nvidia wanted to take over all of that kind of stuff. And then with the RTX 30 series, the Founders Edition was just the default price. That's what ended up happening with the 30 series. And forward, Nvidia just took complete control of that entire setup. The Founders Editions are their cards, they sell them, it's Nvidia, no other company makes any profit off of that, and it's all for them, which appears to be kind of what they're doing with the server trays that they're going to be selling with Vera Rubin moving forward. So just another move of Nvidia continuing to try to get more profit and squeeze more money out of every consumer, whether that's a gamer or a data center. And I'm not going to squeeze any more of your time with this episode of Hot News. I'm going to move on and see you back here for more of the hot tech news later.